Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Bros Podcast, episode number 172. I am Brendan. UFC Vegas, UFC Fight Night, UFC Vegas 60, Fight Night Sandhagen versus Song. We're going to go over the main card here. We're going to talk about Gregory Rodrigues, Chidi, Njokuani, Andre Fili, Bill Algeo, and the rest of the main card. So if you like MMA, if you like podcasts about MMA, subscribe to the channel so you know when the next videos are coming out. I do 2 or 3 videos a week. You're going to like everything I do if you're over here. So let's get going. Oh, man. What a really good performance by both guys, honestly, but more specifically by Sandhagen. So Sandhagen ends up getting the win here via doctor stoppage, and it is arguable. So I've collecting my thoughts on the performance. We're going to go round by round and kind of what happened, but this is not the same thing as, for those of you guys who are diehard MMA fans know, when Junior Dos Santos fought in Eagle FC recently against Yorgan De Castro. He actually threw out his shoulder due to him beating up Yorgan so bad. Like, he threw a punch and his shoulder popped out of place, and it was a doctor stoppage and a doctor win for Yorgan. That's not the same as this. And then recently, Yair Rodrigues won versus Brian Ortega the same way, where Brian Ortega's shoulder popped out of place. Again, that's not even the same as this. That one was more arguable that, hey, the doctor stoppage doesn't really count as a win for Yair, even though he was winning that fight. So that's kind of in between this one. Cory Sandhagen in the first round caused a cut above the left eyebrow, and it was so bad that I swear you could see bone. It got so deep, and he continued to target it throughout the rest of the fight. Now, for those of you guys who don't like doctor stoppages, don't like stoppages due to the skin failing and not necessarily your abilities failing or your cardio or possibly, a bone break or whatever, right? For those of you guys who don't like doctor stoppages like this, I understand your frustration, but you have to put it in perspective. Cory Sandhagen did this. He's the one who caused it over and over again. And he won this fight. All right. In my opinion, he won this fight. It's a different discussion whether or not elbows, like cutting elbows like that, should be allowed in MMA. That's a separate discussion. I'm actually not in favor of elbows for that reason. Not that I think that they should be banned. I'm okay with them being a technique. I understand why they're available to the fighters. Back in Pride, there was no elbows on the ground. And this was why. This wasn't caused on the ground, but this was why. It's because elbows cause cuts, and then fights get stopped because the cuts open up too much. And, is that the best outcome of the fight? Did we really get to see the true expression of skill from each fighter? That's arguable. It's fight to fight. And again, I would argue that in this fight, Sandhagen did that. He showed his skill. So let's go round by round here. Sandhagen took the forward approach immediately. He went for a takedown really early. Didn't get any. You can see here on the numbers, every round, he attempted 14 takedowns. He only got one of them. He didn't really get Yadong down for any significant period of time. Didn't really control him on the ground that well. And if you want to talk about his grappling not being up to snuff, you're more than welcome. But I think it got the job done. So Song landed a hook really in this first round really hard, and he kind of staggered Cory a little bit. It was a good shot. And then Cory failed on a takedown, and Song ended up on top in his guard, and then Cory stood up, and then Song ended up riding his back. But in the end of this first round, something happened other than that the lead elbow from Cory, but we'll talk about that in a second. Cory feinted a takedown, and Song reacted so hard. It was like the movie Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James. He sprawled so hard that he went flat, stomach to the ground. That's how much he was worried about getting taken down by Cory Sandhagen. Now, does this mean that the takedowns and all those things were ultra effective in themselves? No. But putting that threat out there, making him work, making him grapple, because he does hit hard. Dude, it was an impressive technique, and it worked really well. So Cory's strategy to go for takedowns early and create the fear, I said, it should play dividends later, and it did. And Song did more damage in this first round, even though on the striking numbers in every round, Sandhagen was ahead. 19-14 in this first round. Yadong just did more damage, especially with that, and he did have he had back control in this first round, but also with that big, that big hook, and he staggered Sandhagen pretty bad. So 10-9 to Yadong in this first round. Second round here, a little bit closer. Song, that cut. So Cory realized that he wasn't going to be able to stop Song from moving forward by just punching and kicking, right? It wasn't stopping him. It wasn't halting the progress. It didn't put enough fear in him and gain respect, as they say, to stop Yadong from moving forward. So, and the takedowns, although effective in changing up Song's movement and striking patterns and his ability to unload freely, weren't stopping him from moving forward either. So Cory said, fine, keep moving forward, and I'm going to move into your in-between, and I'm going to split your shell, because Yadong has a really good shell. He was shelling up really well and defending against the punches. So Cory went right up the middle with a lead elbow, and split the eyebrow open. Song is a much cleaner striker, and Cory was having issues. He just was having issues getting going in that first round. Even though he was able to outstrike him, Yadong was landing the better strikes. Now, Song was wearing the damage much worse because of that cut. And Cory was able to land more, and you can give that second round, 21-15 in favor of Cory. You can give that second round to Cory, and I did. I had it 19-19 going into the third. Song was out of range much more in the third round. Cory was moving and poking and prodding much better. Cory landed a knee to that cut and opened it up even more. Cory was now outlanding Song with damage, and Song was wearing it on his face. That cut started to open up even more. I had it 29-28 in favor of Sandhagen. 29-13 in this third round. So he really started to pull away. And then in the fourth round, Song started swinging crazy. He was missing wide, and he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. He wasn't able to stop Sandhagen, and then that cut in between after the fourth. So this fourth round, 25-12 in favor of Sandhagen. Yadong really was consistent, right? 14, 15, 13, 12, but Sandhagen picked it up, right? He went from 19, 21, 29, 25. So he outstruck him every single round and didn't get tagged with any really big ones in the last three rounds. Because of that, I gave him all three of those rounds, and in between the fourth and the fifth, the doctor came in. The doctor actually came in between round 2, 3, and 4. I think I might have said in the first round the cut. I think the cut was in the second round. So the doctor kept coming in between every round, checking on it, telling Herb Dean, if it goes down anymore, you got to stop it. And then after the fourth round, the cut was just open way too big. They had to stop the fight. Sandhagen drops to his knees because he's disappointed. He shouldn't be disappointed. He targeted it. He did what he was supposed to do. And now let's get into that. Let's get into my perspective on this and why I think that's not a bad stoppage, first of all, but also the fact that he did it on purpose. You know, Sandhagen did this on purpose here. You guys want to see the cut and what I'm talking about here. Guys, it is so bad. Look at this thing. Look at this cut. Look how bad that cut is. I don't know what that is. That can't be muscle anymore. That cut is so deep. That's got to be just a thin layer of whatever's on top of the bone. That is crazy, guys. That's bad. There's a good reason it got stopped. So, like I said, I just wanted to show you guys because if you didn't see it or if you didn't see the close-ups afterwards, it's pretty bad. So Sandhagen caused this. Sandhagen threw an elbow with the intention to damage, and it caused a cut. Then he targeted it. You could see it. He was looking right at it. He kept throwing jabs at it. He was throwing knees at it. He threw more elbows at it. He actually took Yadong down at one point. I think he finally got him down in the 4th round, and he was grinding his elbows and his head onto that cut to open it up even more. If you want to talk about expression of skill and expression of mixed martial arts, one of the ways to get your opponent out of there is to attack a weakness, whether that be a knee that you damage or a calf. You know, you see that he's wobbled and you go for a knockout. You see that you hurt him to the body. You see that you hurt his arm and he can't lift it up. You see that you make his eye swell up, so now he can't see anything coming from the right side. So, you're throwing left hooks at him outside of his vision or the range of his vision. Those are all the same thing, okay? And targeting a cut is the same thing. You cause a failure in his body, and you're exploiting that for your benefit. Do I like them? No. I think skin failure is probably the lowest on the, or highest on the totem pole. I know, because I think the lowest is the most important. But the colloquial term is lowest on the totem pole as far as most effective ways to stop a fight, right? Because you're waiting for the doctor basically to come in. Now you could see that Cory wasn't doing that just to get the doctor to stop it. He was exploiting that weakness in order to open it up even more, cause more blood to leak, cause more blood to go into the eye so he couldn't see. It's the same thing as targeting, like I said, a swollen eye, to swell it shut so they can't see. The doctor did his job. I think he did a really good job letting it go as long as he did. I would have even stopped it after round 3. And we'll talk about that in the next fight that we cover, because there was a cut in that one too, and the same doctor came in and let it keep going. So what does this mean for Cory? Because similar to the Yair situation, it was a doctor stoppage. So there's going to be some grumblings. There's going to be some people who are upset that he didn't actually get a finish, that, he didn't really beat Song, his skin failed, this isn't really him defeating him. But he did, right? This wasn't a fight he was losing. He was outstriking him, out-damaging him on the feet, going for takedowns, trying to control Song, doing the things that he needed to do. The rankings stink. This division, it's jammed again. Dillashaw is part of the problem. Sterling and Jan are part of the problem because they fought twice. And Sterling officially has 2 wins over Jan. One via DQ. Rightfully so, right? How Sterling reacted to that, and I know he explained it more on JRE. So he explained the aftermath and why people were so upset at him because he went to a party and this and that, and how he actually felt about it. So whether he's lying there or he was lying, it doesn't matter. I don't care. It wasn't good optics. I didn't like the way he acted afterwards. I felt like it was acting and playing it up a little bit. And yeah, he went into that fight compromised, and he was losing that fight, and the DQ allowing him to win the championship was kind of strange. But he beat him fair and square in the rematch. Pretty well, I might add. He was able to control Jan. And yeah, you can say whatever you want. But he took his back. He wasn't just laying on top of him. He took his back and he was controlling him and trying to go for finishes. This is not the same as lay and pray. Right? This is not that kind of stuff. So that quick aside, that's why they probably won't face each other again until Jan gets a couple more wins. And then TJ Dillashaw being in here, here's another problem. He's been out for a long time due to an injury. His last fight was against Sandhagen, in which he got the decision, but a lot of people thought that he didn't win that fight. I thought it was close. I really did, and I actually scored it for TJ. I'm a little bit blinded because I'm a huge Dillashaw fan. But the fact that it was so close, it's not a robbery by any means. And real quick aside to that too, Cory Sandhagen got to fight for the interim title against Peter Yan off of that loss. He wasn't punished for that loss. He was rewarded for it. So as far as how that affected the layout of the division, other than keeping Dillashaw in a higher ranking, it really didn't, because it didn't stifle Sandhagen's advancement. He was able to advance, and he went up against Peter Yan and lost it, right? Fair and square. He lost the title eliminator, the interim title fight. So Dillashaw having a win over Sandhagen and, being laid off for so long, I don't like his chances against Sterling, but he does deserve that title shot. He just does, right? Honestly, so does Sandhagen. Sandhagen deserves, I've said this before, deserving a title shot doesn't mean that everybody else doesn't deserve one, right? Multiple people in the division can deserve a title shot at the same time. It's whether or not their schedules line up, their quality of opponents, who they face, have they faced that champion in the past? There's a lot of factors that go into it, how long they've been waiting. And then, of course, obviously the gamesmanship and like the promotional side of it. Like, are they promotable? Are they a big selling point? Do they play ball with the UFC? There's a lot of things that play into people getting a title shot other than deserving one. TJ Dillashaw deserves a title shot. It's probably going to be his last one. If he wins, he gets a chance to defend the title. But if he loses, I don't know if he's ever going to work his way back up. He's not young anymore. He's had a lot of time off. He's had a lot of injuries, a lot of surgeries. And because of that, his career is coming to the tail end of it. Okay, now let's go to number 4, shall we? Merab Dvalishvili, who hasn't really lost. That bullshit loss after the fight was over, where he technically was submitted. I think that was garbage. Hasn't really lost in like 5 years. And he just beat Jose Aldo impressively and definitively. So he should probably face Peter Yan, because, side note, if you don't know, Merab Dvalishvili and Aljamain Sterling are teammates. And they've said multiple times they will not fight each other. I know people sometimes don't like this. The UFC brass doesn't like this. I understand, and especially when you get in a situation like this, but this doesn't come up that often. How often does it happen where two teammates are in the top of the rankings and refuse to fight each other? It has happened a handful of times, and you can remember it. Obviously, like Cain Velasquez and Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier cut down to 205 because he didn't want to face Cain at heavyweight. Because they were teammates. They refused to fight each other. So because of those, this does come up every so often, but it's not that common. It's just that this compounds the issue. So Merab Dvalishvili, based off of his win streak, based off of who he just beat in Jose Aldo, does he deserve a title shot? Absolutely. So now he deserves a title shot as well, but he's not going to face Aljamain Sterling. So if TJ Dillashaw wins against Sterling, Merab just gets to go up there and fight to avenge his teammate. So that would be pretty cool. That's a cool storyline. But Merab's not facing him, so I wouldn't be mad if Merab faced Peter Yan. That makes sense to me. Cory Sandhagen, just having this win. Now, see, I laid all that out, and I know I spent a lot of time talking about the champ and then 1, 2, and 3, because those are the people ahead of Cory Sandhagen. And Sandhagen is not likely to move up in the rankings after this, but he might. He could bounce in front of Dvalishvili. They could switch spots, but it's unlikely because there's no reason to. Did Dvalishvili really lose this weekend by Cory Sandhagen getting the win? Absolutely not. So now, Cory Sandhagen deserves a title shot, as I've already said. Who does he face? Well, he's kept it a little bit more open in his post-fight speech. He wants to face someone up here in the top. He doesn't want to wait around, and he doesn't want to get passed over again, so he called out Marlon Vera. He called out, he didn't say Dillashaw. Who else did he call out? I don't know if he called out Jose Aldo either. But Marlon Vera, Cheeto, I think he's maybe one win away from deserving a title shot, but if he got one, I wouldn't be upset in other circumstances. Right? If the division was laid out differently than this, and then we weren't in this quagmire logjam that we are now, I wouldn't be mad if Marlon Vera got a title shot based off of his win streak and who he's beaten. So Cory Sandhagen versus Marlon Vera makes sense. I wouldn't be mad at that. And then real quick, let's talk about Song Yadong and what his future looks like in this division. He has a win over Marlon Vera that was controversial, and if you guys know me, you know I'm not the biggest fan of Marlon Vera. I don't like his attitude. I think he's kind of a sourpuss. I don't know him individually. He could be an excellent guy, very generous. He could, spend time taking care of orphans and donating to charity. I'm not saying he's a bad person, right? I'm not making a judgment about his character. All I am saying is the optics and the way he acts in there, and then also afterwards, flicking off Song after getting that controversial loss to Song. Dude, it's unnecessary. I understand that you're upset, and I wouldn't hold that against you if he also didn't just go and bitch about it. And he's such a sourpuss, man. You can point out faults in the system. You can point out inaccuracies in judging and reffing and all those things without being a sourpuss about it. And he also has this attitude, like every time he gets taken down and he's held down, when Frankie Edgar was beating him for most of the fight, and then he was just throwing his hands up like, oh, well, I guess this is just the way it's. Yeah, dude, get up and do something about it. And Vera ended up winning that fight. Cool. It was a competitive fight against Cruz, and he ends up knocking him out. The guy hits hard, and he's got a crazy chin. I think he matches up really well with Sandhagen, actually. I think he has a good chance to beat Sandhagen, and that would give him a title shot. But guess what? There's 3 other people up there. So I wouldn't mind Vera versus Peter Yan, but I think Dvalishvili makes more sense against Peter Yan right now. I think Dvalishvili is also poison for Vera based off his fighting style. Overall, really good fight. If you made it this far and you let me describe everything. By the way, if you're looking for a specific fight down below, there's all the fights that I'm talking about. They're all going to be timestamped, so you can skip to those if you're really interested in a specific one. All right. Yeah, man. I fun fight. Great night of fight. Great fight. I think Song didn't really lose out on anything here, and I think overall fun to watch. All right, Gregory Rodrigues, oh my God, taking on Chidi Njokuani. Okay, so this fight was bananas. Bananas. Okay, this fight, similar to the Yadong fight, had a very big cut involved, but the cut was in a different place. So Rodrigues goes for a takedown almost not immediately, but pretty early in the first round, and Njokuani bashes him with a knee right here, not on the bridge of the nose, but in between the eyes, right where the unibrow would be. And Rodrigues does have a lot of scar tissue. He has a lot of wrinkles on his forehead. He looks very old. He has had, some people just look older, but it could be due to damage or whatever reason. He's taken a lot of damage. And then Njokuani was throwing stabbing kicks out, doing really well. And that cut was so bad, he started bleeding everywhere. Njokuani ended up landing a left hand that staggered him again. Rodrigues then comes back and lands a right hand and then freaking unloads on him. And Njokuani stood in there and threw back at him and rocked him back. It was bananas. This first round was all action all the time. It was really fun to watch. I gave it to Njokuani, 36-32 on the striking numbers, and the damage is it was not about even. There was a point in which Chidi could have been finished if Rodrigues had landed one more really good shot in there, but Chidi did a good job tying him up and defending and then throwing back on his own. Then the second round starts. Actually, so the doctor comes in after that first round. I'll show you guys the cut. So the doctor comes in after that first round and looks at the cut. And he says, okay, and he tells the ref, like, hey, you can keep the fight going. Here it is, guys. Look at this cut. It is so bad, man. Look at this thing. So bad. Now, what makes this different than the Song fight is this is in between the eyes. There's no blood. Now, the blood could have come from the corners of this cut, but this cut is down to the skull, man. Holy crap. Ugh. Anyway. So what makes this different is that, not that much different because the ref let this fight go too. I would have stopped it. I thought that cut was horrendous. But to his credit, the doctor came in, looked at it, and said, hey, that's fine. Like, just watch it, keep a really close eye on it, and Mark Smith did. And then the second round here, Rodrigues ends up getting a takedown, and then you could tell that Chidi was just tired and he couldn't hang in there anymore. He broke him, man. Great win for Rodrigues. Rodrigues has had a exciting career in the UFC so far. He's only been fighting in the UFC since 2020, and he's not like super old. He's actually younger than I am, but this dude looks like he's like 40 something. He has aged really poorly. And this isn't to say like he looks bad. He's not like a bad looking guy or anything. And who cares if he is? He's a fighter. Who gives a shit? It's just the wrinkles on his forehead and the amount of damage, and I'm guessing that's a ton of scar tissue up there. He's got good wins in the UFC against Dusko Todorovic, who I thought was going to be something and just turned out to be a blah. Did lose to Armin Petrosian, beat Julian Marquez. That was a great win. Jung Young Park, he ended up finishing him after getting staggered in that fight as well, and now this one. Like he's the real deal, guys. He's rough, and he has good grappling. He hits hard. He's tough as shit. Like this guy, I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but this fight had won me over quite a bit. It's just his toughness and his lack of give a shit when it came to damage. He just wanted to move forward and get the finish. So being at middleweight, having another good middleweight contender here, it's exciting stuff. I think he's really good, man. I think he's awesome. All right, let's talk about maybe a controversial one. I don't know how you guys feel about this fight. I don't think I had a controversial opinion on it. Andre Touchy Fili, favorite nickname. Andre Touchy Fili taking on Bill Algeo. So this first round, Fili ends up getting the decision win via split decision. Chris Lee was the lone dissenting judge here, giving it to Bill Algeo, and I'll explain why. I understand why he did it. I just don't agree with it necessarily. So first round, how'd it go? Algeo was really relaxed in there, and Fili was trying to chase him down. Fili landed some really good straight shots. Algeo landing low kicks and throwing awkward combos, doing a good job. But Fili landed a right high kick over the top, staggered Algeo a little bit. And then Fili just landed so much more damage in this first round. I know that the striking numbers went to Algeo, 30-19. And it's just the damage went to Fili. So I don't, that's not controversial at all. Fili won this first round. It was Bill Algeo just had more output. He just took too much damage. Second round, Algeo was doing a better job avoiding the big strikes. He found his range and timing. He landed good hooks upstairs. He looked like he hurt Fili to the body at one point because Fili pressed forward and tried to clinch. The judges, I said, honestly, I thought the judges were probably going to give that second round to Fili because of the head hunting. Here, look at the numbers here. So in the second round, 25 of those strikes that Fili landed were upstairs, and he landed some good strikes to the head, but Algeo landed less. Right, the big difference maker was to the body, and then 13 leg kicks. So he did more damage. I gave that second round to Algeo, so I had it even going into the third. Fili got a takedown relatively early and then worked his way to the back and then tried to sink in the rear naked choke, and he had it deep multiple times. So that counts for something. If Algeo was able to get up and land a ton of damage, that could have reversed my opinion on it, but that's not what happened. He kept the back the entire time. He actually controlled him for 3 minutes, nearly 4 minutes, so 3 minutes and 49 seconds of that third round. But look at the striking numbers, 10-8 in favor of Algeo. So Algeo, and a lot of those strikes weren't even counted as significant strikes. Total strikes in this third round, 74 total strikes, guys, 74. So while he had his back taken, he was throwing punches behind his head and landing. Like, those were on the edge. Those were on the verge of being significant. Some of those were really hard. It's just, how likely are you to get a finish from there? Not likely. It's more of a means to an end, right? Landing those punches to get your opponent to stop going for submissions and get off your back, not trying to finish the fight like that. So that's why those don't count in my book as much as Fili having the back of Algeo and going for the submission finishes. But one of the judges didn't see it that way. So I gave the fight to Fili. I hope that's not controversial. I think that the judge really screwed up there. Look at that. No one wants to talk about Saul D'Amato getting it right. He got it right there. Come on, guys. Give him some credit when he does like good stuff. Let's congratulate some of the judges when they're doing things right and not just pointing out all the shit that they do wrong. I know that's not everybody's favorite thing to do, and it's not always the easiest because it doesn't stand out. Pyfer taking on Alen Amedovski. Pyfer coming off of the Contender Series, highly touted, showed a little bit of disdain for Alen and said he was going to come in there and finish him. And they made a statement about it saying Amedovski's no one to turn your nose up at, and he could get a finish himself. But Amedovski's probably going to get cut from the UFC. He's got a loss to Jotko, John Phillips, Joseph Holmes, and now Joe Pyfer. So it's Pyfer, sorry. It's unlikely that Amedovski is going to keep his job in the UFC. And he just, in this fight, Pyfer just moved forward nonstop. He tried to get Amedovski to stop retreating and use angles to cut off the cage. It just, he started throwing hard. Eventually, he cornered him, and then they started throwing hard at each other, and Pyfer landed hard. They both did. And then Pyfer separated for a little bit and then landed a beautiful right, and then that ended the night. And put him down, and then he followed up with an unnecessary right hand, but the referee didn't step in. That is not Pyfer's fault. I hope nobody's holding that against him. All right, let's talk about some sloppy heavyweight action, shall we? Tanner Boser taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. This fight was a snooze fest, because Nascimento kept getting takedowns and not doing anything. He just laid on him. You want to look at the striking numbers. Tanner Boser outstruck him in every single round, 15-9, 32-15, and 15-12. Right? Boser was really fast. He was moving a lot faster. He was 30 pounds lighter coming into this fight. He's not a big heavyweight as far as weight goes, but Nascimento is a big, fat, sloppy heavyweight. Boser lost that first round, even though Rodrigo only landed one good shot. It's just he laid on top of him. His control time, 2 minutes and 43 seconds of control on the ground in the first round, and that was mainly just him laying on top. He did not do a lot of damage from the top. He didn't do a lot of ground. Let's look at ground strikes, shall we? Zero ground strikes, guys. How many submission attempts in that first round? 0. A big old fat 0. That is nothing. He was doing nothing. But because he landed that one big strike and the striking numbers weren't a total blowout in favor of Boser, I actually gave that first round to Nascimento. This is not a heavyweight I want to watch fight anymore. The second round, Tanner Boser was way out in front, 32-15. He did get taken down again. He was controlled for 1:48, but Boser rocked him with a left hook and started unloading, doing a real good job keeping his jab out there. Boser got taken down, but Rodrigo laid on top again. All he did was lay on him. All right. He did go for a submission attempt. It wasn't in. He didn't really get anywhere with that. How many ground strikes did Nascimento land in the second round? One ground strike in 1 minute and 48 seconds of ground control time. Guys, come on. This is not a good fighter. This is not a good fight. This is not what we want to see. We cannot be rewarding people for doing this shit. I am all in favor of grappling. I'm all in favor of wrestling. I'm all in favor of people using what they have as an advantage. But you have to try and finish the fight. You have to advance. You cannot just sit there. He didn't do anything. No strikes. No submission. Like one submission attempt. Come on. Garbage. Absolute garbage. So I gave that second round to Boser, although one of the judges gave all 3 rounds to the other guy. He got it wrong. Camijo got it wrong. He just did. There's no fucking way that this second round goes to Rodrigo. Third round. Boser got taken down, and Rodrigo laid on top of him again. You want to talk about damage? 15-12 in favor of Boser, but it's just, again, it wasn't big enough. It wasn't enough of a difference like it was in the second round. Had he landed 15 more strikes, I could have easily given him the third round. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway because one of the judges gave it to him, didn't give him the second round. Not necessarily. Could have mattered. Anyway, Rodrigo laid on top again, did absolutely no fucking damage, did fuck all with that position. Shall we talk about how many strikes he landed again? 3 minutes and 30 seconds of control time. How many ground strikes did he land? 1. What the fuck? This is not okay. Oh, maybe he was going for submission. 0 submission attempts. This is not a good fighter. Was not a good fight. If you want to articulate properly why you don't like this kind of grappling, just look at this fight. Look at this fight. Show somebody the numbers. For someone who is on the other side, right? Someone like a hardliner like Rogan is, saying if you want to get up, there should be no stand-ups. I understand his point of view, and that's totally fine. But this also can't count for anything then. It can't count for anything other than control time, which is less than damage, right? If Boser had landed one good shot in this round, one really good shot in this last round, I would have given him that round, even though the judges wouldn't have. You have to understand where we're coming from, though, where damage is the end-all, be-all. It is the number one most important judging criteria. And Rodrigo did no fucking damage. He didn't get a high-altitude takedown. He wasn't punching him on the ground. He wasn't even going for submissions and trying to finish. I have a complicated relationship with that because, going for a submission is in itself is just control time, but you're trying to end the fight in an immediate way. So you're not doing damage per se. So that's why I think it's like defense is its own reward. I think submission attempts are their own reward. If you're good at submissions and you're going for submission attempts and you're trying to finish the fight, then you have an opportunity to end the fight where the other person cannot. He didn't do that, though. He didn't do anything. He didn't fucking work. The guy laid on top. This fat fuck sat on this dude for 8 fucking minutes of a 15-minute fight. And he gets all of his paycheck because of that. That's a problem. So for people who don't like MMA because of this shit, I don't know how necessarily fix it other than being harder on the judges. But they have to be held accountable for that stuff. They have to be held to their word. He did no fucking damage, guys. None. 0. Fuck off. So bad. That kind of shit makes me really angry because it gives MMA a bad name. And then the fact that this is at the highest level in MMA in the UFC is fucking acceptable. Holy shit. Anthony Hernandez versus Marc-Andre Barriault, I think his name is. Good fight for Hernandez. He looked really good. Outlanded him every single round. Hernandez was getting the better of the striking in the first half of the first round, and then he got some control time in that first round too. He had 3 minutes of control time. He kept taking him down, kept outstriking him. This is how you fucking do it. You want to talk about effective grappling, this is what it is. Right? It's a means to an end. He took him down, and damaged him on the ground. 3 strikes, but he kept taking him down and controlling him. And then also, Mark was trying to get back up. So in the first round, he only landed 3, but he landed more fucking strikes in one round on the ground than Rodrigo did in all 3 fucking rounds and 8 minutes of control time. So he can go fuck himself. That was horrible. All right. Mark was looking really tired already in that first round. Not good visuals. 10-9 for Hernandez. Second round, Mark was just being taken down over and over. He couldn't keep it on the feet. Couldn't do the damage. 10-18, like I said, in favor of Hernandez. Good round for him. And then in the third round, gets him down and gets the arm triangle finish, which is a beautiful, beautiful submission finish. Legit, man. This guy's really good. Anthony Hernandez. At middleweight, it's lots of exciting fighters, man. A lot of people coming up. He looks really good. He's polished. He's got a lot of good stuff about him. He does have a loss to Kevin Holland, but Kevin Holland isn't in this division anymore, and it's not that big of a deal. Good win. Good win for him. All right, that is it for the main card. If you're looking for the prelims, that's going to be in the next video. I'll cover that there. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know in the comments below. Did you guys like the fights? Are you okay with some fat ass sitting on top of someone else for 8 minutes, more than half of the fucking fight, and being rewarded for it? If you like MMA, like I said, you like podcasts, you make it all the way through here, come on, subscribe to the channel so you know when the next videos are coming out. I do, like I said, 2 or 3 videos every single week covering UFC, PFL, ONE FC, A little bit of boxing and other stuff too, but mainly the UFC is what I go for. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. If it's the only video that you watch this week, thank you again so much for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing week, and I love y'all.